I wrote this sermon in 2 parts, and the first part requires that I get down off this pulpit.
All right.
Because I'm going to take you somewhere to a woman who is grieving the death of someone who she loves. Someone who has been to that valley. Someone who came out the other side and made something amazing out of it. So I'm going to take her voice for a minute, if you'll be with me. I was there at Golgotha, the place of the skull. The sun was up and the heat was just beginning to burn away the mist of the dawn. The smell of death from all the times before greeted me before I could even see a thing. When he died, it was around 9 in the morning, or maybe it was 10. I just remember the haze. So many questions, and my mind cannot hold on to the details. Where even to begin the story, really? When did it begin? Who was there? How could this have happened? Why did it have to happen like this? Looking back, I know now that there were signs that I missed. Signs that I can clearly see now in reverse. There were clues, messages at dusk and at dawn. They seemed to come in threes. Why didn't I pay attention? Why can't I remember what he said? Instead, I have images and sounds and smells that overwhelm me. Out of sequence, out of time. The rooster crowed, the crowds shouting, the lingering taste of wine from our last meal in my mouth, and the smell of quickly made bread. Judas kissing Jesus. Judas kissing Jesus. Judas kissing Jesus. Why can't I remember what I want to remember? If I could only remember who was there, who acknowledged their own guilt. Which one was it, the one on the left or the one on the right? If I could only remember left or right, right or left, who spoke? What time was it? Maybe then I could piece it all together and make sense of it all. How could anyone believe that a human being was deserving of such suffering? Weren't there others? Weren't there others who proclaimed him innocent? Didn't I hear someone say he's innocent? Pilate didn't want to kill him. The criminal thought that he was innocent, and the centurion, the soldier whose job it was to be certain that the sentence was carried out, even he said something, didn't he? That centurion who didn't flinch with the rest of us at the sight of his beaten body. The soldier who supervised the position of the nails in his hands and in his feet, and who would be unlikely to argue with the brutality. Even he said he was innocent. Weren't there three crucified, 3 crows of the rooster, 3 proclaiming him innocent? Weren't there 3? Why didn't those voices matter? Was anyone else even listening? Did anyone else even care? I don't understand how everyone else can simply go about their everyday lives, wasting their time on so many things that don't matter. He had so much more work to do, so much more to live for, so many more lives to touch. If I could just remember the details, one after the other, then I'd have the truth. Then I could figure it out, what happened, what it all means. Does it matter whether the centurion said he was innocent? Whether he proclaimed him to be God's son or innocent, or wasn't he both? I don't want to argue about what happened. Does it matter that what I remember is different from you? Can't our memories both be true? And sometimes I wonder, does it really matter who said what? Or does it just matter that he's gone now? No, it does matter. It matters what was said. Who reached out to him in his darkest hour does matter. It mattered to him. It matters for us now. It matters to me. I remember people standing around, so many faces all blurred in the haze. Was it John I saw standing there? I could have sworn I saw him there in the crowd, or maybe it was someone who looked like him, shouting, arms raised with the rest of them, demanding that he save himself, that he prove himself. So many faces and so many voices that wanted him to die. Not for anything that he'd done, but to resolve something for their own sake. Was John there? Were you there? But this I remember as though he were in front of me right now. All he could do at the end was cry out. His cry was loud, and it sounded like agony, like pain, like anger. But what did he cry? I heard him cry, pleading to God, my God, why have you forsaken me? Others say they heard him whisper something more peaceful, more resigned, more settled, so much more gracious after so much pain. They heard him say, Father, into your hands I commend my spirit. I so want to believe that's true. I so want to believe that the last words to leave his lips as he left this world would give me hope. That as he left this world, he did so willingly. But I know what I heard. His voice sounded desperate, lost, aching for an answer, and there was no answer. And so what am I supposed to do? I can't change what I remember. What do I do now with the sound of his cry, with his words that echo in my ears? You know, I wonder if everyone there heard something different on that day. I wonder if I merely heard what I needed to hear. Someone said that they were trying to help him at the end. I so want to believe that they were trying to help him, that they offered him something to drink to wet his lips and mouth. Some say they offered him medicine to numb the pain. Others say they were mocking him, that they offered him vinegar to ensure that he left this world with a bad taste in his mouth. I so want to believe that they were trying to help. I don't know. I just can't help but feel that they were gawking or mocking him, attracted to the scene like some kind of car crash or a horror film. To me, they were just bystanders, an audience. Did my disbelief of what was happening cause me to see the backs of my own eyes more than that upon which they gazed? Do we merely see things as we are and not as they are? I cannot know for certain what was offered, nor their intention, but this I am sure. I'm sure that I saw Jesus refuse to drink. No one could have loved him as much as I did. He was my life. And I remember right before he died, it got really dark. It was the middle of the day. Someone said it was between 12 and 3, but no matter when it was not right. It was not the way things were supposed to be. Why wasn't I prepared for this? No one had ever mentioned that this was a possibility. Maybe the sun just passed behind the clouds. Maybe it was an eclipse, I don't know. But when darkness fell, the details faded even more, one onto the other. It was as if time itself simply stopped. And in spite of the darkness, I know I saw him take his last breath. I watched his chest heave, his fingers curl and tighten, his eyes fix on the sky. And then he was gone. Even from far away, even in the darkness, I saw the moment that he let go. I knew the minute he was gone. I will never be the same now that he's gone. In that moment, some say that the curtain of the temple was torn in two from the top to the bottom. I don't know, but I lost my innocence in that moment. I would no longer be shielded from the truth, from the veil between life and death, because it is so thin. The veil between loyalty and betrayal. The protection between me and my own fate. No fairy tale or illusion or activity will prevent me from knowing the truth any longer. No story, no liturgy, no lie. I feel it all the time now. It is always present in me, even behind my joy. And the truth is that in this life we will die, as will those whom we love. In this life we will be betrayed, we will suffer. The innocent may be tortured, we may even participate in harming those whom we love. All I know is that I cannot go back. What I will never forget is that in that moment, it seemed as though the earth shook beneath my feet. I felt the rock I was standing on break into two. I was off balance and I fell to my knees. I could hear the crying around me. But somehow, beyond that crying, I could hear something deeper. No one could know how I was feeling in that moment, but at the same time, it felt as though I could now hear the weeping of generations before me, a sound that had always been present, but that only now I could hear. It was the wails of all of those who had ever suffered, the lamenting of those who had ever watched someone they loved die. And for the first time, my own fate was not just an idea, it was a part of me, a piece of me. The collective crying, that sound of pain was so loud that I had to cover my ears with my hands, but there was no relief. It was as though the doors of every tomb in the land that had ever been closed, every tomb in neighboring lands, every tomb in my own heart had been opened once again. And to this day, when I am still and it is quiet, I can hear that ancient aching sound calling to me, a rhythmic and rushing and pulsing in my ears, from the silence and from my soul. When it was over, is it ever really over? I don't even know how long it's been. But what I know is that from my knees, eventually I looked up and the crowd that had gathered, the crowd that was there before was gone. Some say that they left grieving and beating their breasts, but I didn't even see them go. I don't even know what time it was, 5 or 6 in the evening, well into the next day, I don't know. I didn't even see the crowd leave, they were just gone. I knew that I had lost hours on my knees on broken ground, blinded by the darkness, by my own grief, by my now tearless sobbing. How long did it take to empty the well inside of me that I had been fooled into believing would never run dry, fed by the spring of my love for him? Hours, days, weeks, years. It was too much to bear. I want to believe that when the crowd left, that they left beating their chests in mourning. I want to believe that they grieve as I do. I want to believe that they too can hear the collective groans of our ancestors wailing, that they can bear the burden with me, so that I am not alone. And a piece of me also wants to believe that the people just left, that they left with no outward signs whatsoever of being deeply affected, that they were numb to the pain, deaf to the sound, blind to the images that haunt me. A piece of me wants to believe that they returned to their homes and their beds and to the arms of those whom they loved, oblivious. Because I wish this shredding of heart and soul on no one. In this drama of life, there will inevitably be tragedy. There will be a valley of the shadow of death. It will be a time when our very foundation is broken into pieces. Do you know what I'm talking about? When everything we believe to be true, everything our minds has settled on, everything we've built a life on will crumble beneath us. And we will have to begin again, rebuilding our lives from the broken pieces. When it happens, our minds are not to be trusted. For they will string together memories and feelings and projections, all out of order. For a time, our minds are not to be trusted. We will have to collaborate on the story, on the course of events, and whether we have eaten or showered. Our memories of some things will blur beyond recognition, and other memories will seem to freeze in time and detail and repeat that same piece, replaying over and over again. When it happens, our sense of time is not to be trusted. For this valley is a land of no time. And so our passage cannot be measured in miles traveled per hour or day or week, but only in inches and in steps, and only in this moment. And at the same time that we can feel so desperately alone and want nothing more than to share the burden of our grief, we can also wish this level of pain on no one. It is a valley filled with grief, but it is also a valley of despair and doubt. It can be a valley of disillusionment or guilt or shame. Maybe you have already crossed this valley. Maybe you are there even now. For others, it is not a matter of whether, but when. Well, you have come to the right place. For this is the lowest common denominator of our humanity, and there is no better place for you to be than here. Because, see, this is a place for you. We will not offer you platitudes, because we know that there are no right words. If you call one of us to be with you, we will not speak of how God or chance or providence works, because we don't know. We will reach out to you. We will walk with you. We will inquire about what you see and what you feel. We will pray with you. We will sing with you. We will articulate our common hopes and dreams. We will feed you and not shy away from talking about the darkness. Our Minister Emeritus, Reverend Dr. John Wolfe, argues that when someone is in this valley, we should know better than to haul out the doctrine, much less the lack of it, in an attempt as an explanation or to labor a justification. We should know better. And in this church, we know better. We know that no one knows the mind of God. And that our role is to go into the world in peace. Our role is to have courage. Our role is to hold on to what is good. Our role is to return to no person evil for evil, to strengthen the faint-hearted, to support the weak, to help the suffering, to honor all beings. Dr. Wolf says, what communicates even more clearly in the valley is our empathetic understanding of what it means to doubt and to risk and to reach out and to have foregone easy models, to have tested our own truth against what truth there is. The salve you seek is here. The salve you seek is here because it is the church that saves. This is a university of life, a rehearsal space for the big drama, the drama that matters the most, and it's starring you. The course of study, your values, your beliefs, your actions, your feelings, your truth, the pieces of your life brought to this community as a puzzle for examination. Everyone needs saving from the valley. Not saving because we're sinful or inherently bad, but because we're human. No one escapes the valley. And everyone's journey feels like a solo one. And so we have to be reminded that we are not alone. Because we cannot trust our minds in that valley. We cannot trust our hearts in that valley. We can't trust our eyes of what we see or our ears of what we're hearing. We can't trust anything in the valley but the church. It is the church that saves, not religion or doctrine, because they will always fall flat. No single religion or doctrine can hold the depth of the complexity of the valley. No single religion or doctrine can handle the depth or the complexity of the valley. But the church is a community of the broken. A community of those who are willing to bring the pieces of their lives, not just the interesting, not just the trophy case, but what truly matters. A community of people who bring to the whole whatever pieces that they have to offer. Who's willing to look at the beginning and the end of their lives and who is grappling honestly with the middle. A community who realizes that we must go out into the world and not merely talk amongst ourselves. Dr. Wolf writes, the church is not a body of doctrine or of reasons or of explanations. It is a community of those who've known the deepest valley and who have passed through it to the other side. They have not been lost or embittered in the passage. Instead, in spite of it, or rather because of it, they have learned compassion and joy and peace, long-suffering and gentleness, goodness and self-control. He says the anxiety, the frustration, the despair, the gap between ourselves and others, the separation we feel about the ground of our own being, none of this can be overcome by religion. It is overcome in the community of the broken, the community of souls. For it is in the church wherein we are reconciled, bringing to it as we do the pieces of our lives, if not our lives in pieces, to share with one another. The church was created to bring together the broken, to bind us together into a community who is courageous enough to speak of the valley. It was at its origin a community who gathered together because they believed there was something in this world over which death had no dominion. They believed that the valley could be traversed. And I am here to tell you that you will make it through the valley. I stand here this morning to represent this collective body, and I can name those who sit in these pews who have made it to the other side and have not been ruined. Maybe you know them too. Maybe they're sitting next to you. Dr. Wolf said, the church is not a place of right convictions. It's not a fortress of truth. It's not a bastion of theology where love is spoken in long, eloquent sentences. The church is the community of those who, having suffered the most grievous loss and lived through it by word and deed, reveal sometimes in the subtlest ways what true compassion really is. And that is compassion that has itself known the valley. The church is the community of those who, having suffered the loss and lived through it by word and by deed, sometimes in the subtlest ways, not only learn about compassion, but joy and peace and gentleness and goodness and self-control. And so let us gather the broken pieces of our lives and make use of them. Let us bring them all here and be clear that everyone's pieces are welcome. So that when we are visited by those who are seeking salvation, we can offer them not religious doctrine, but the church. We can offer them the complexity of our lives and our experience, our doubt and our fear, our bewilderment, as well as our love and our hope and our authentic compassion. When they bring their lives in pieces seeking salvation, we will offer them not scripture, but empathy. We will offer them not doctrine, but experience. We will offer them not creed, but covenants. Not certainty, but doubt. Not safety, but risk. Not shelter, but a place to reach out together. When they bring their lives in pieces to join this community, it is we who will bless them. Many claim to see Jesus after his death. Have you seen him? Mary Magdalene has, and 2 other women, and Andrew, and James, the son of Zebedee, and John, the brother of James, and Philip, and Bartholomew, and Matthew, and Thaddeus, and Simon the Zealot, and Thomas. I love Thomas. Even Thomas saw Jesus. And Peter. If you heard my sermon, Fishing Naked, you heard about my affection for Mr. Simon Peter. Peter would not be left for dead in that valley. Peter was told to build a church. On this rock, build my church, and the gates of Hades will not overcome it. No, sir, indeed, they will not. So when they bring their lives in pieces to join this community, it is we who will bless them. Salvation, the keys to the kingdom, are found by being in relationship with the community of the broken. By being in relationship with those souls who know that the work of the church is the transformation of society, who have a vision of heaven on earth transcending the present, who will walk through the valley and speak of their journey, and who do not shrink from controversy, sacrifice, or change. Blessed are those indeed. Amen.